everyone. Welcome to the Double Stuff Podcast. We are double the hosts, double the topics, and double the fun. I'm Charity.
I'm Sarah.
And I'm Al.
And I'm Dan.
And because COVID-19 probably ruined a lot of vacation plans this year, we are going to discuss travel.
Yay.
And so I actually want to start with Dan because since starting season 3, one of us has left the nest here. So Dan, do you want to give us a quick update on what you're doing?
Sure. Yeah, it didn't ruin my travel plans. Actually, it ruined my post-travel plans, but that was about it. No, I moved in July of this year to Florida. So I am a socially distant podcaster now.
Where to in Florida?
In the Tampa Bay area there. So.
What's your address? Can you give us a picture of your house?
Well, I wasn't like going for specific. I was just thinking, Florida. I moved to the United States.
That's exactly right. Yes. So I moved to Tampa Bay, and we thought everything was getting kind of better at the time that we moved, and then we got here, and a couple weeks later it got so much worse. So it has been a whirlwind.
But you've dodged everything, right? You've been ducking and dodging that COVID.
Absolutely. So I stay at home. And listen to our podcast over and over again.
There you go.
and not because he has to, it's because he wants to.
That's exactly right.
As chief audio engineer, he wants to listen to our podcast.
But as travel goes, so that's something that you did as a relocation. Has it impacted your traveling at all this year, Dan?
Yeah, very much so. I mean, we have plans on coming back to visit in the wintertime, and then we have my family wants to come and visit us, and that's impacted them. Even to just regular like weekend trips. I mean, we finally got out to the Gulf, and it's been weeks, months now since we moved, and it's been tough to just get out to even like an hour away to go places because we're just not sure, is it going to be busy and everything like that. So yeah, we really want to get out and see some of these places and travel, and we are going to make it happen when we can.
Yeah, because it seemed like you were always jet setting like to New York and back to
Wichita. That's where he's from.
Yep. Yeah. And I do enjoy traveling a lot. I mean, we've been all over the place, and there are a lot of places I still want to be. Yeah, so it definitely has put a damper on that, but I love traveling.
Have you visited all 50 states?
No, I haven't visited all 50, and it depends on what you mean, like a visit as in like spend quality time or just a drive through, because I've driven through a lot of them.
True. Visiting, I would say spent quality time, because if we're just talking about drive through, I've been to all 50 states.
I've been everywhere.
You've been to Alaska.
Actually,
so I've been to 48 then.
She's been to 48.
Calling you,
the continental.
Continental.
That's right.
But I've done a lot of traveling like around the US, but I would like to redo it because I was working. Because I was with an organization called Teen Mania. They're no longer together, but they used to do youth conferences called Acquire the Fire. And so every weekend...
They didn't acquire the fire?
Yeah, well...
They kind of got burned out.
It burned out.
But anyway, so we were basically living on a bus. There was about 30 of us living on a bus. And each weekend we would do the event. And then, we would load in, set up everything in like a big arena, do the show, and then we would leave. And then we would travel to wherever the next city was. So I've been to most of the states. And then we did a couple events in Canada. But I would like to go back and actually travel for real and, be a tourist in some of those cities instead of just seeing the inside of the arena.
Sure.
Well, since we were talking about Dan having to move and relocate for a job, it sort of got me thinking of what I would prefer to do as far as travel. And that would be, having to travel for my job. And I know some people hate that, but I would love to, do like weekend projects and have to travel somewhere or work on a TV series for a few months and then come back home or, whatever the opportunity arises. So is that something that any of you guys are interested in, having to travel for work?
That's interesting. I worked for a company in California called Kelly Paper. It was like a real life Dunder Mifflin. And
Nice.
In fact, the office shot in one of our stores. But we operated in 5 states, so California, Oregon, Washington, Arizona, and Nevada. And being in the marketing corporate level, I was flying out to these different states, and I would do a lot of travel, and it was fun. But once we got pregnant with our first child, I decided, or an opportunity came up to where I could teach. And I figured, you know what, I want to be a dad that is there, and that that my wife can count on, and that I'm not, here 2 weeks and then gone a week or whatever it might be. So I actually had that opportunity, and I decided that it wasn't for me. And it just wasn't. And I love the choices that I made since then. So even though I thoroughly enjoyed that job, it's
Something
what
to do for the kids.
I wanted to be. I'm excited to be a dad. I love being a dad, and I want to always be there. And I know a lot of dads, and it works out for them to do a lot of travel with their work, and for them it works out. So I'm not knocking anybody that chooses that and how they choose to support their family. But for me, I decided not to, and I've been okay since then, and I'm really happy with making that choice.
I mean, it's good that you were there for at least the earlier part of their lives, which is a very important stage. Maybe, when your girls are in high school or go off to college or whatever, like you can get a chance to find those opportunities again. But it is really good that you were there for the earlier days of your girls' lives.
I wouldn't have traded for anything. Yeah.
Sarah, travel, work?
I would like to. I admit I haven't really done a whole lot of that yet, but I would like to do that. I would like to maybe get a small apartment, maybe here or someplace really cheap, so that way I can at least
because you're not going to be in it.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's how I think.
Because I want to be. I at least want to have like a hub that I can go back to. But yeah,
PO box. You get a PO box.
Yeah,
but you can't live in it.
Yeah, you can't put a bed in a PO box.
That's true.
I
But
mean,
a lot of people do that.
That'd be a heck of a mailing.
Well, I'm thinking like military people that do a lot of traveling. They have like a PO box so that it doesn't really matter where they're sort of living at.
I think I would at least like to have some place where I can say I live here. It might not be frequent, but at least it doesn't have to have a lot. I mean, the basics: a small kitchen and a bedroom and a bathroom, and call it good. Like a studio kind of thing. But I would like to legit travel. Considering I've never done it before, I think it would be a heck of an adventure.
Oh yeah.
And definitely for work, because I feel like if I was just going to go on some kind of glory trip for no reason, I feel like I would get bored really quick.
I don't know.
Just going backpacking, you mean?
I need to have a reason to go. You know what I'm saying? Just hop in a car and go wherever the spirit leads you. I don't know if I can really do that.
Oh, that sounds like so much
That's
fun.
the call of the adventure, right?
That's also potentially dangerous. At least as a female, I would say it is.
Yeah,
just to go off by yourself.
They romanticize it in films a lot, but I don't know how that would actually work in real life.
You'd go on an adventure.
I guess I'm thinking of that scene. I'm thinking of Taken. Because they were going on a trip. Well, no, but it was two girls and they were having fun. They were going to do the things. And then obviously they didn't get to have fun and do the things. Like, so I guess traveling by yourself is what I think of.
That's the most low-key way of describing that movie.
Yeah. I like how in the same sentence that you were, I want to travel, you already talked yourself out of travel. I'm safer right here.
Well, I mean, like, I think I was saying traveling by yourself, any, like, when
but you said that you wanted to ideally travel by yourself.
Well, no, like, I would be traveling.
She wants to travel, but she didn't say she wanted to do it by herself.
Well, yeah, like, it would be for work, so I would be with a production crew and like a bunch of actors, and so I'm not just, I'm going to go backpacking in the Alps. Like, no, that's, I ain't doing that. No, that sounds terrible.
No, that ain't safe at all.
All right, Dan, what about you?
I think that sounds like a ton of fun. But I mean, if it comes to like traveling for work, I would love to do that if it was something that both my wife and I could do together.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because you.
Oh yeah, because you're married.
Well, no, I knew he was married, but you have a fun proposal story because you were in
I was going to bring
Paris.
that up, but you being in Paris.
Yeah. So you want to tell us a quick proposal story?
Yeah, absolutely. So we, my wife and I have been together for 6 years at that point, or 5 years at that point, and we had the opportunity to go to Paris for a trip, and it was through like the college and everything. We were in like a group. And of course I was like, okay, well, if we're going to do that, we've already talked about getting married, but we haven't like made it official or anything. So I'm going to propose. We were, when we went there, we were going to all these different places and it was a lot of fun. But I think what we ended up doing was we went off on our own and just had a nice dinner at a restaurant near the hotel. And that's where I proposed to her. And it was fun. Everybody thought it was really neat at the restaurant. And then when we got back, we told the group that we were with, and we all went out drinking and partying at a nearby bar.
So the good old American way.
It was great. It was a lot of fun.
I was waiting for you to be like, we climbed up to the very top of the Eiffel
See,
Tower.
I can't even say that because our Eiffel Tower trip was actually a bust. Because when we went, the night that we went to the Eiffel Tower, it was really cold and really kind of foggy out. And my wife and I were like, we're not going to go wait in line for this with the rest of the group. So the rest of the group went, and we went with two of the other people that were leading it and just went to a cafe and had some tiramisu and hung out. And about 45 minutes later, they came back and they were like, we never got to get to the top. They closed it down because it was too foggy. We just stood in line.
So good
We're
call.
like, yes.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's a really cute story, Dan. Even though it didn't turn out the way you wanted, I wouldn't complain if someone proposed to me in Paris. I mean, it could be on someone's doorstep. I'd be like, "We're in Paris," you know.
Yeah,
But
no
add
complaints.
something
It was a lot of fun.
Not necessarily on proposals, but kind of like what you were talking about, Dan, with the Eiffel Tower and fog rolling in. Coming from San Francisco, whenever I see a picture of the Golden Gate Bridge with
It's
like
always-
clear skies, I'm
Yeah.
like, that is a lie. Because every time you go to the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco, you cannot see it. It is always covered in fog.
So is that photoshopped or something?
No,
or-
I mean there's obviously breaks
Oh,
in the
okay.
fog, but typically if you were to go and check it out, you'll be fogged in. That whole north of the peninsula, it's always just
Is it just
covered in fog.
based on that time of year? Like if you came
Every
during
day.
the summer?
No, every day.
Oh.
Like when I lived in the sunset of San Francisco, when evening came in, the fog would roll in and you could not see across the street. The fog is that thick always.
So driving on it is probably difficult then.
Well, I didn't drive, so
Okay.
and I was on streetcars, so I mean, there's obvious lanes for the
Right.
the Muni there. But yeah, it was very funny. And speaking of travel, you can always tell of tourists in San Francisco because they will be in scantily clad because it's warm out, tank tops, short shorts. And then as soon as the sun goes down, temperature drops to 50, 45 degrees, and they're
so
rushing
so low? 50, 45?
every single night. It gets cold.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
You go through all four stages of the weather in like
Yes.
a 24-hour period.
Oh yeah, San Francisco is crazy with the weather. It could be the most beautiful day, and then all of a sudden it's the coldest day that you've ever lived.
Well, that's a nice travel tip for anyone traveling to San Francisco.
True.
Yeah,
So
There you go.
bring your
That one's
bikini
free.
and a parka.
Yeah.
You'll be using both in the
I
same
wonder
day.
if that's
Bring
in
a
Rick
hoodie with you.
Steves' journal.
it might be actually.
Well, he is Europe though, right? Has he done the United States?
I don't know.
Why do the United States? We got Europe.
That's
over there.
Well, because going back to COVID-19 and all that, because we didn't get a chance to do vacations this year,
Mhm.
let's all think back to a time where like you had the best trip of your life.
Okay.
What would you consider to be like one of your favorite places that you visited?
Mm.
Who wants to go first?
I have one we did when we were younger.
Okay.
Since Dan was talking about the Eiffel Tower and the bridge, long time ago. I think maybe I had turned 11 or 12. We went to St. Louis. We had to go up in this into the arch, into the St. Louis Arch.
I remember that.
Okay.
And that was my first time like actually going up inside of a monument of some sort, because at the time I didn't really know you could do that. I know certain ones you can't go up inside of it, but that
Mhm.
was really cool. And I think it was like 610 feet high. I'm trying to remember what the exact amount was, but it's like over 600 feet high.
Okay.
The St. Louis Arch.
Well, and I think that was the first time we had been to a structure so tall, because you
Yeah,
always see
yeah.
it from far away or on a postcard or something.
Mhm.
But when you're standing next to it and you're like looking straight up, you're like, oh my gosh, you feel so
Yeah.
small.
And then when you go inside, and look straight down, because I don't really have a fear of heights,
until
but-
you're up there.
Yeah.
but when you're looking like the higher I go,
and
my
it's swaying.
yeah,
probably?
I was
but
gonna say it
it
sways.
does sway. It does
Yeah.
sway in the wind.
Mhm. Yeah.
But for me, when it comes to heights, the higher I go, my feet tingle. My feet starts tingling the higher I go, which is a
Wow.
weird thing. It's like, we're getting higher. My feet's tingling. My feet's tingling. I don't know. That's
That's the spirit. Is that the spirit inside you?
Praise break.
so, man. If I'd gone to the Eiffel Tower, watch out. It would have just been.
So do your feet tingle when you're on a plane, or is it just a hard surface?
Funny enough, I don't.
All right.
But no, when I'm on a plane, my feet don't tingle, which is interesting. It just,
It's just the movement.
It just does that when I'm in high elevation. Even when I'm at the mall, like if I'm at Town East, I'm looking
Wait
down.
a minute, Town East.
It's not very high, but my feet still tingle.
Okay, I was with you until you said Town East. Town East has two floors.
It's not terribly high, but it's still the fact that I'm looking down. And the reason my feet tingle is because in my mind I'm like, ooh, I could fall. Oh, I could totally fall.
Okay, at Town East, the only way you can fall is if you take a running leap over that rail.
Oh well, yeah, but it's just the fact that if I look down and
So
yeah,
if you purposefully try to launch yourself into the air, then yes, you can fall. Otherwise, there's no possible way you could
but
fall.
I feel like it's a mechanism to keep me from doing stuff. So if my feet tingle, that just means
There's danger in the
There's
air.
danger.
Oh, Sarah, you would have hated our second apartment there in Wichita. We lived down in the Garvey Center, but we lived on the 23rd floor, and it was floor to ceiling windows, so you could walk right
Oh
up
my
to the
gosh.
window and look straight down.
Wow.
you lived in the Garvey Center.
We did, yeah.
I could have been visiting you because when we would rehearse for Gridiron, there's a couple of people that we know that live in the Garvey Center. That's how we were able to rehearse. We would go down the bottom floor.
Oh, yeah.
And then we would go up into their little apartment area and do that. Dad, drat it, Dan.
What was really funny
That's why
about
we
that
asked
is
for your address earlier.
during earthquakes, that was the only time I really felt how high I was, because we'd get like tremors from earthquakes and we'd start shaking. And I'd be like, ooh, 23 stories is a long way
Yeah,
to
that's
fall.
Oh, God.
Pretty nasty fall.
Well, and our buildings aren't really made for that. Like there's certain
Yeah.
places that, you know, they have earthquakes all the time, and so their structures are built for that. And so earthquakes don't really
Mhm.
bother people, but I don't think we have built our structures in that way. Not
No.
for
So
Wichita.
to withstand.
Yeah, I think that's the scary thing.
That is scary. Speaking of earthquakes, so my best travel story takes place in the earthquake state of California. So one of the things that my wife tuned me into was KOA camping, and if for those that aren't familiar with it, it's just they have campsites that are for tenting, and they have it also for RVs, and then they also have cabins.
Oh yeah, we talked about that a little bit in the
Yeah.
camping episode. Yeah.
And so our favorite place to vacation and take like just a long weekend trip was to San Diego's KOA. And it was a great campground, great experience. And it was right on the bay there. So we would go swim in the ocean. It was a lot of fun. And a couple of times my parents actually flew in to the San Diego airport, and we'd pick them up and they'd join us for the weekend. It was a lot of fun. That was a good vacation.
So sort of like a staycation.
Kind
almost.
of, yeah, not going
Ah.
too far. And I
Mhm.
think that's pretty important too for those that want to travel but only think about like Paris or
Mhm.
San Francisco or something. You know, you don't have to go too far to have a good little vacation.
Yeah,
I
staycations
agree.
are very underrated. I've often got like a hotel room and just did something with myself for the weekend.
Bingo.
And, you know,
That's a very adulting mindset. Because I know when I was a kid, I'm like, I'm not going to stay here. The whole point of going to travel is to get out of this state. But now I'm like,
get out of the house. At least walk down the street to
heck,
the
me and
hotel.
Charity stay at a hotel literally around the corner from the house, just so we can be like, oh, hotel beds, continental breakfast.
Well, it's nice when you like, you know, pay the extra and you get the suite and you get
Mhm.
all the extra
yeah.
fancy stuff. But
Yeah, from
staycations
like,
are
from like a
underrated.
mile
More
away
people
from
should
the
do it.
house.
Yeah.
Definitely.
What about you, Dan?
Favorite vacation? Probably the one that sticks out to me the most was the one we took last year in October. My wife and I were just, I want to say it was like maybe 3 weeks beforehand. We were just like, okay, let's pull the trigger. Let's go to Oregon. So we just bought a ticket, booked a hotel for, and like a couple of cabins. And then we just flew to Seattle and then drove down to Oregon and just kind of did whatever we wanted to. No plans or anything like that. Just kind of went up and down a little bit and then came back. It was really nice and enjoyable and relaxing.
That
So
sounds
it was,
awesome.
it was just a spontaneous trip just because you wanted to, or is there something in Oregon that you really wanted to see?
We both really enjoy Oregon. I mean, there wasn't anything in particular, though, that we wanted to see. We just both really enjoy the state and the Pacific Northwest in general. So we were just like, yeah, let's go do this. Absolutely.
So I'll just end the podcast with my favorite trip. Back in 2017, two of my friends provided me an opportunity to go to Dublin, Ireland. And I have always wanted to go to Ireland. Anyone that knows me, I love listening to Celtic music. I've gone to Irish Fest in Kansas City. Like, it's one of my favorite places I've always wanted to go to. And so it was actually with a school trip, which was really cool, but it was open to outsiders, which is how I was able to go. And we visited a lot of the different pubs. We went to a few museums. And what they sort of did, because it was a school trip, we did like the educational stuff in the morning. Like we visited a print shop. And then we went to a museum and stuff, and then we would get to go to the pubs and stuff afterwards. But since the class was with a graphic design class at the school, one of the things that we got to do was do a class with Annie Atkins, who is a graphic designer for films.
Yeah.
And so she's done like the Grand Budapest Hotel, Penny Dreadful, The Tudors, Joker, so she does like big stuff, like little props. Like if someone's traveling and they need a passport, she'll design that. Or if there's a period piece where there's a big calligraphy written letter or something, she'll do that. So it was really cool. We got to take a class with her and just visit, and we went to the cliff some more. Like I definitely want to go back.
That sounds
for
awesome.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
That's really cool.
I would like to go to Ireland. Actually, I want to go to a lot of places.
The next one,
pack your bags.
The next place on my list is London.
Yeah,
but that's a place where I would probably like to travel for work, and I would like to live there.
We're going to travel for work as well as meet our husbands. So we got a few. We have some reasons to go there. Like, are you single? Are you British? Will you marry me?
Just two Americans walking around.
Looking very.
Well, on that note, because obviously there's two single girls looking for a husband, we're going to end the podcast. Hopefully you guys enjoyed, quote unquote, traveling with us. Hopefully we were able to go on all of our vacations next year. Till then, you can relive your memories. Let us know where you've been or where you're from and why we should travel to your state or to your country. You can find us on all the social media platforms, and we look forward to hearing from you. Thanks for listening to today's episode. You can find other episodes on doublestuffpod.com or on your favorite podcast apps. You can also participate in the fun on social media on Facebook and Instagram at Double Stuff Podcast and on Twitter at Double Stuff P. That's the letter P.